Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. Jerel Hendricks back on the board as always, here for our Week 8 South Carolina High School football preview show. John, last week we got everybody back playing except for, the buys that are scheduled, of course, but everybody back on the field. And boy, do we have a big slate, a good slate here in Week 8.
Yeah, this is where it gets really, really competitive. Some really good teams playing each other. I feel like we say it almost every week. We have matchups where it's like this could be for the region.
Yep.
This week, probably more so than any other week to this point.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Looking at our CONA games, look, I've got probably 3 games that we think are for the region title just in those, not even counting what didn't make the slate there. But if you guys are tuning in for the first time, really appreciate you. Be sure to follow us here on Facebook. We're also on Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains. That's MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movinchains.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly preview show here on Tuesday nights, live about 7:15. We talk through all the week's games coming up there. We do our polls, all kinds of great things like that. We do a recap show, comes out on Sunday night as well, recapping the games. We do our Friday night spaces live on X Friday night after the games. We do coach interviews, player interviews, all that kind of stuff. We got a great interview coming up. We'll hit on it here in a minute. Probably Thursday night. It'll be a lot of fun. But appreciate you guys tuning us in tonight, and make sure you share it and tell all your friends as well. As always, get your Moving the Chains merch. We got some great stuff right now. Some great T-shirts, a black T-shirt, navy blue T-shirt, a gray T-shirt. I'm wearing the gray one myself. We got a black one here, a navy one, a pink one for the ladies as well. Really good stuff. We've got some toboggans for those colder weather games. John, it's looking a little bit chilly this Friday.
It's cold right now.
I wore my sweatshirt last week. I'm going to have to do it again this week, I think. Some great Richardson hats as well, black, gray, all kinds of good stuff. Email mtcgear.sc@gmail.com, or you can just message us here on social media. Last item here is the sweatshirt or the hoodie. We have a kind of a lighter one and a gray one. Whatever you prefer, we've got it. Get your gear to support the boys. So laying out the show tonight, John, we're going to start off with our CONA games of the week. We'll break down those. We'll go into 5A, 4A, 3A, so forth, all the way down through SCISA. We'll come back with our polls. We got a lot of great content coming for you guys here on this episode. But, John, let's start with our CONA games of the week. Our Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates games of the week are the biggest ones that we see across the state. And the first one here is a massive 5A matchup, a good rivalry here as well over in the county. And that is Boiling Springs traveling to Spartanburg. Both teams sitting at 4-1. Last year when Boiling Springs was starting to kind of figure things out, they got a nice win over the Spartanburg team, kind of an upset at that point, but they won 24-17 in the matchup last year. Boiling Springs last week all over Wade Hampton 55-14. Spartanburg all over Dorman 23-7. The Bulldogs averaging 41 on offense, allowing 12 on defense. The Vikings 30 on offense, 14 on defense. John, who do you see having the upper hand in this matchup?
I think this is about as even of a game as you can get. I think if you look at one advantage, and this is going to sound crazy, I think Boiling Springs might have the advantage from a single player personnel with Lincoln Husky at quarterback. At all levels of football, we know how important it is to have good quarterback play. I think they've got the better quarterback on the football field in this ball game. But I really like what Spartanburg's done defensively last few games. We know Coach Hodge always has a really good defense. No exception this year. They've been very, very good. I mean, the last 3 games that they played since they took their one loss to Dutch Fork, they've only given up 1 score each game.
Mm-hmm.
Defense has been locked in for the Vikings, and they're at home in this ball game. I think we see another 24-17 kind of game. I don't even know if it's going to be that higher scoring, actually. It could be the first of 20 wins. Well, technically, that was the case last year, too. But I think we see a low-scoring, 1-score ball game here. I like the Viking defense to pull it out. And what I like about the Spartanburg team, too, they've had, one really close game, that first game against South Point. They were able to find a way to win. Boiling Springs, their toughest game at this point was that Gaffney game a couple weeks ago. A really close game. They're on the losing side of it. For those, I think Spartanburg, they know they can win a close game against a really good team. I think they do it again Friday.
Bowling Springs led by quarterback Lincoln Husky. You mentioned John. He went 10 for 13 for 176, 4 touchdowns last week. Receiver Graham Guest, 5 catches for 100 yards, 2 more touchdowns. Running back Javen Chim's a good player. Receiver Kyle Patterson. You got Ryshawn Morgan, Gavin Calhoun as well are options on offense for them. Defensively, Jeremiah Favorite had 2 picks. One of them was a pick 6 and had a punt return touchdown in that win. Campbell Johnson, another forcer in the middle for Coach Reel's bunch. On the Spartanburg side, quarterback Trey Burke, running back Trenton Lynch, receiver Calvin Choice. Defensively, like you said, is where they make their money. The 2 linebackers, Cambridge Smith, the Shrine Bowler, Peyton Jones, a really good player for them too. I think both teams are going to match up really well on that side of the football. You know, when Jerel and I saw them play Gaffney, the Bowling Springs defensive line really, really set a tone. I mean, they were getting after Gaffney up front, did not allow much of a rushing game at all from the Indians. They've got some stout players up there on their D-line, and then Spartanburg can match them with the linebackers, like I said. I think it comes down to maybe who makes one more play, and I think I'm leaning Bowling Springs because I like the quarterback a little bit more. I trust him a little bit more. I think Husky, with his legs as well as with his arm, can make just enough moves and just enough plays to kind of pull this game out. But this is a big matchup here. You know, both these teams have deep playoff aspirations. Bowling Springs already lost to Gaffney. They're kind of, you know, sitting in a I guess, a rear view seat right now in the region. Spartanburg still has a chance. They've got all their games in front of them. You know, they haven't played Burns yet, have not played Gaffney yet either. Both of them, you know, want to make deep runs. So this game here is one you got to have if you want to set yourself up for a potential 1 seed out of that region.
Yeah, for sure. You know, paramount game for whoever wins this game. You know, for Bowling Springs, it's kind of a get back even game if you can knock off Spartanburg, because you think, you know, Spartanburg's got a chance to beat anybody in the region. Yeah, if you get 2 losses in the region, you know, then you're looking at probably get a 3 seed. So you're probably on the road to start the playoffs. And that's a big deal, you know, especially with 5A being split.
And the way it's going out too,
really tough game first round.
With the RPI, who knows how it's all going to shake out. It could be a little bit odd for sure. But John, I know you're going to Spartanburg. I'm going Bowling Springs. Jerel, thoughts from you or thoughts from the chat on this big 5A matchup?
Man, this one is so tough because I feel like these teams do match up against each other so well. You know, I think Spartanburg, they got the home field advantage there. Bowling Springs, again, like you guys pointed out, I think they have the QB advantage. I think both of these defenses can play lights out. I think it's going to, you know, boil down to, you know, who's going to be able to be more patient on the offensive side as they try to sustain drives and things like that. And as always, man, turnover margin, I think you're going to need like either that or a big play in special teams to really tilt the scales. You know, and I don't know, man, it's going to be a difficult one. I'm leaning Bowling Springs, but I would not be surprised if it went the other way. I think this one's as tight as they come.
And looking at special teams, you know, Spartanburg has one of the better kickers in the state with Will Love. I think he hit the winning field goal against South Point this year, I believe. And I think it was a fairly lengthy kick as well. On the Bowling Springs side, I mentioned Favorite, the punt return touchdown last game. And I believe in that Gaffney, and they had a couple nice kickoff returns as well, I think, Jerel. So both teams getting it done in all phases, it seems like. Should be a very even matchup, very fun matchup over there at Spartan High on Friday night. Comments from the chat on this one, Joe? Anybody want to throw in their 2 cents? Or anybody want to say hello as well as get going? Kevron, good to see you, man. Great collegiate. Good to see them back on the field last week, getting a nice win. Zach says Red Devils heading to Landrum for a big region matchup. Yeah, that is a big one there. Landrum's playing a good football team. We haven't talked about a ton, but I think they're 5-2 right now, 4-2 right now. We know what Clinton is. Will be a fun matchup over there in Landrum. Travis says, let's go West Side homecoming game against Fountain Inn. Fountain Inn, I thought was decent. Did not look good last week against Wren. That kind of surprised me. I think West Side rolls again. You know, just too much firepower on offense. We'll talk about that one here in a bit. Bradley says, good evening. Good to see you, Bradley. Appreciate you being in here with us as always. JD, good to see you, man. Thank you for hopping in with us. Appreciate the kind words. Hampton County in the house. Yeah, we'll get to that game here in a minute. In just a second. That's one of our CONA games of the week as well. Bradley says he thinks Bowling Springs is going to pull out a close one. Curtis says Marlboro Dillon inside the white wall is definitely a great one. Another one of our games of the week. Curtis, we'll get to that here in a minute as well. Chris says, Daniel, 3 games in 9 days starting Friday. What do we think? Yeah. That's something that
great point.
We went into a little bit last week. I mean, that's tough, you know, and I think honestly it's tougher for the coaches and the kids. Like these kids, like, they're like, strap it up, let's go. But the coaches, how much can you game plan for each game? Because it's the time you have allotted. You have to put a lot of new stuff in. We don't know. But I think Daniel is good enough where they can handle it, certainly. Nathan says, don't trust the Spartanburg offense. I'm a little bit the same way there, Nathan. That does give me a little bit of pause there for sure. Bradley says best kicker in the state. Yeah, certainly does. I know they've got one of the better ones. I know James Island has a good one as well with Dangerfield. Courtney, good to see you in here. Appreciate you hopping in with us. Let's go Bears. Homecoming Friday. Very nice. You know, it's that time of year, John. A lot of homecomings right now. So I feel like that's going around the state.
Let's go to the next game, guys.
Perfect. Our second CONA game of the week, John. Barnwell at Hampton County, both 6-1. This is one of those games I think is for the region title. I think these guys, two teams, are clearly the best in that region down there. Last year, Hampton County, big winners, 33-7 over the Warhorses. Barnwell coming off a bye, averaging 30 on offense, 10 on defense. Hampton County, 39-7 victory over Lake Marion, 34 on offense, 17 on defense. Hampton County, you know, last year, John, I felt like we had a pretty good feel for them. You know, we knew, hey, Zion Dobson, big line, you know, big physical football team. They're going to run all over you. They're just going to kind of pound you into submission. This year, I feel like I don't have as much of a read on them yet. I know the quarterback, Chris Terry's back. They've got Jalen Singletary, who's getting it done. I think he had 10 for 125, 2 touchdowns last week. Also plays defense. He's one of our players of the week earlier in the season. Mandrell Sanders on the defensive side of the linebackers is a really good player for them. But I just don't know. I can't get a good feel for him. That Hilton Head Island loss scared me a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
I don't know what to make of the Hurricanes.
Yeah, you know, I'm still very high on Hampton County. You know, I've seen them, and I take the positive end of it. I've seen them win with defense. You know, they beat Silver Bluff in a really tight game.
Mm-hmm.
Silver Bluff's not very good this year.
Have not won a game yet still.
You know, they score 14 points. They still win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of weeks later, they play a good Bluffton team, a little bit of a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they give up 36. They score 50. Find a way to win the game. I think these are two, obviously, very, very evenly matched teams. Barnwell is extremely good in their own right. I want to go in this time of the year when you got these good of teams matching up against one another. I like the home team. I like to, if I'm flipping a coin, I'm flipping it on the home side. I'm going to go Hampton County in this game, mainly because they're at home. I think they might be just a little bit better than Barnwell. I think this is another, you know, flip a coin and trust whether it's heads or tails, because I think both teams are very, very stout. You know, both teams are going to be around at the end of the playoffs as well. This would be a good game to, you know, put a little title or, you know, up there for a possible region championship. But I like Hampton County just a little bit more in this one.
And for the Warhorses, you know, their last game was a win over Lake Marion as well, but it was 2 weeks ago. Cam Austin, the quarterback, had 3 touchdown passes. Nehemiah Brown, 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. Receivers Robinson and Wesley, got Jaquan Peoples as a player for them as well. Logan Sturkey, a good athlete on both sides of the ball, gets after kind of that linebacker hybrid spot and also kind of the hybrid H-back receiver spot on offense too. Does a good job there for them. The linebackers, Edie, Thomas, and Zizit get after it. It's the game where, you try not to do too much score comparing because that doesn't really get you anywhere. But this was a weird one because it felt like when you look at the Lake Marion scores, Hampton County score looked a little bit better. Then you look at the Silver Bluff score, Barnwell score looked a lot better. And it's kind of tough to get a good vibe for this one. 2 very evenly matched teams, like you said, John. I've been very impressed with Barnwell. I was worried a couple of weeks ago with the way they lost that South Aiken game with the Thoroughbreds coming back last minute, doing some crazy stuff, a last-second touchdown to Juju Edwards after Barnwell having a big lead. I was like, that could really, hurt you and beat you more than one time. But they've bounced back with, I think, 3 nice wins in a row since then, playing good football there for Coach Smith. I like Barnwell a lot. I think I trust the offense a little bit more. I just feel like I know more about them, I think we'll say, is honestly as part of it, because I've seen them play. We know more of the names. I like Barnwell in a close one. I think we might see a low-scoring matchup here as well, similar to that Bowling Springs Spartanburg game.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and make a guess on what the score could be. Both of them, I brag about Hampton County winning with defense. Barnwell's done it too. They bounced back from that South Aiken game, beat a good Swansea team, 14-7 there. Again, 2 pretty evenly matched teams here. And it's going to come down to who plays better Friday night. I don't think this is not a game where it's going to go, boy, everything's going to have to go perfect for this team and they're going to have to catch a couple of breaks. No, it's going to be whoever makes 1 or 2 plays more than the other, because I think they're that close together matchup wise.
Yeah. Yeah, we always mention special teams. Lane Evans, kicker at Barnwell, can get it done too, so he might be a key factor at the end. Jerel, comments from you or from the chat on this massive 2A matchup here between Barnwell and Hampton County?
Man, these are getting tough, man. These games are really hard to pick,
Yeah.
man. These again, two fantastic programs here. I want to give Zion Dobson a shout out. We just mentioned him a little bit. I think he just played his first, college game for Winston-Salem State. Had a big day.
Let's
So
go.
that's awesome to see. Awesome to see that. I think he scored a touchdown, had like 100 yards and on 12 carries. So he's getting it done already. Shout out my boy Jackson at Barnwell. I know he's probably listening
That's
to
right.
this.
Appreciate you, Jackson.
Gotta show some love on both sides there. I don't know, man. I'm just going to go Barnwell by 3. I think it's a tight game. I just like Cam Austin a little bit more. That senior leadership there. He's played in games since he was a freshman. These big games like this. So that's just my reasoning, going with the senior quarterback who's been through the battles. But again, this is just like the previous game. Would not be surprised if it went the other way.
For sure. What is the chat saying about this game or about everything else going on in the state right now, Jerel? Barnwell by 7, says Bradley. Yeah, I think in tight game, man. Terrence says 28-7 Hampton County. Okay, that would surprise me a little bit there if it got that out of hand. But it could. They're at home, which is a big plus there. Curtis says big week for high school football.
Yeah,
big games, some rivalry games this week. Yes, it is a loaded slate. One of the better ones we've seen so far this season. Chris says Batesburg, Leesville, quarterback Tanner Watkins on school record watch. I think he became the third all-time passing yards leader and second all-time in touchdowns last week, or maybe have those flip one or the other. Not sure how close he is to the next numbers, but certainly playing good football there for the Panthers. Joey says, don't count out the Chapin Eagles. Yeah, Chapin is, I think they've lost 3 games. I saw today the combined score of the 3 teams that have beaten them is 18-2. So they're playing really good. They lost to Somerville, awesome team, Dutch Fork, and I believe Lexington as well. Teams that are playing really good football. So Chapin
good offense over there.
Certainly can be a factor here in 5. Anthony says Marlboro big over Dillon, too much talent. We'll get to that one here in a minute. Anthony, that's one of our games of the week. We'll break that one down here shortly as well. Brandon says Hampton County 31-21. Okay, I like that.
I'd be surprised if it's even that many points.
Yeah, could be. Curtis says kickers, don't overlook kicker from Lamar.
Okay.
Good point. Okay. Keep him in mind when they get those
they
big
had a
Silver
really
Foxes
good
games.
kicker a while ago, Michael Hamlin.
Yeah, he was good at a lot of stuff, wasn't he?
Let's go to the next one, guys.
Perfect. Our third CONA game of the week, another, I'm going to say it, region title here, John. Woodruff traveling to MVP, 2 of the undefeated teams still in the state here. Woodruff 5-0, MVP 6-0. This game played at Newberry College, actually. So that will be an interesting matchup on Friday night. Woodruff did not play last week. They're averaging 43 on offense, 28 on defense. Their last game, they beat Chesney 45-28. Quarterback TJ Morris is an absolute gamer. Not going to fill up the stat sheet, but just gets it done, man. A great high school football quarterback. Can run it and throw it. Running back Aiden Gibson in that game went 30 for 221, 5 touchdowns. Receiver Corey Moats is the dynamic playmaker. Cam Taylor, the big tight end, John, 12 catches this year, 6 touchdowns. So big red zone target. We'll put it that way for Cam. For Cam there, no doubt about that. And then defensively, they've also got Sean Graybill, Hunter West, and big-time players on that side. The problem for Woodruff, John, and what worries me, they have not played. It will be 28 days when the next game. They had the 2 weeks off there for Helene, and then had a bye last week. So that's a month of not playing football, man. It's almost a full reset. Does that scare you at all with the Wolverines against this MVP Stars team?
A little bit, but they're still talented. If this was the first or second game of the year, I would be much more worried. And they've had some time to practice. Mm-hmm. They haven't just been sitting at home eating Cheetos. Hopefully not for 4 weeks. I think they'll be ready for this game, and the fact that it's such a big game really helps coming out of the gate too. They should be extremely well prepared from a game plan scheme perspective. They should be fresh. They should be healthy. Obviously, both sides are going to be very excited. Woodruff, they're going to be excited just to be able to get out on the football field again. I'm not super worried about that. And another part of it is, too, Mountain View has not played as well here last few games than I expected them to play. I think they got as much talent as anybody in 3A. But I'm not sure they're putting it all together just yet. I want to go to this game Friday and see what the dynamic is, see how everything plays out. I think they might be the more talented team in this matchup, but I don't think they're going to win. I think Woodruff's going to win this game. And another reason I like Woodruff in this matchup is they played a couple close games. The first 2 games were pretty close. They had an awesome first game. I think you were at that game with Clinton, where they were able to pull that out, kind of put them on the map there in week 0, and then came back the very next week and beat a Fountain Inn team that's
I believe the last second field goal in that one too. Yeah.
So I think, in fact, they played a couple close games. Mountain View hasn't. And if they get in a tight game, how do they react? How do they respond in that situation? We know how Woodruff does. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game, especially in the fourth quarter, because I think it's going to be a really close ball game. And seeing if Mountain View, if that talent steps up and says, hey, yeah, we are one of the best teams in 3A, and we're about to show you why. Or if Woodruff says, if they come out and say, hey, you got a close game, bad news for you because we win them. So I think this is going to be an awesome ball game. Interesting, it's going to be at Newberry College as well. So both teams got to travel.
Yeah.
I think that evens the playing field a little bit for Woodruff as well. Yeah.
MVP last week defeated Chapman 27-9. Averaging 47 on offense, 13 on defense. Got quarterback Bryson Drummond, the Greenville transfer kid who's played a lot of football at that spot. So we've seen him play quite a bit over the years. Running back Jalen McGill, maybe the best player in the state, regardless of classification. I mean, he's an absolute stud. Went 13 rushes for 181, 3 touchdowns last week, 2 catches, 35 yards, 2 more touchdowns last week. Receiver Katie Hainsworth is a great player out wide for them defensively. Edmondson and McCauley, and then Shamon Black outside at that corner spot can just lock somebody down. They've got talent. And my worry for MVP, and it has been all year, John, is we know they've got the skill guys. Like, they can light it up offensively, and they got the guys on defense as well. But do they have the line play needed? That's what we don't know. What do they have up front on both sides of the ball? And they have not played the toughest schedule either. No. So it's hard to get a good vibe on those guys to really see what they've got in the trenches. And, when it comes down to this time of year, John, and especially when you're playing somebody as good as Woodruff, you got to be good up front. And I just don't know about MVP, but we know that what, McGill can do and what Drummond can do and what Hainsworth can do. And Coach Ramsey is a great offensive coach. I'm sure he will have ways to, get the ball out quick if they need to, or just get McGill to the corner or whatever. So I have no, worries about them getting some big plays and scoring, in bunches when they need to, but just, I don't know what they've got up front for a full 4-quarter game. And that does scare me a little bit. And Woodruff, like you said, is just, they've been tested. They play good football. The month off does give me a little bit of worry. I know that I'm sure they've been doing some scrimmaging and whatnot to try to keep the guys fresh, but that's a lot of downtime. That's a lot of downtime between games, but that's going to be a fantastic game. I think I'm going to lean Woodruff in a close one too, just because of their experience in the close games. I think they get this one close. I feel like the top level talent, you got to give the edge to MVP
for sure, but
just maybe the overall depth of the team and just more complete team, it might lean more to the Wolverine side there.
Yeah, I agree. And this could be the game where Mountain View comes out and they're just clicking on all cylinders, and we see the chemistry completely come together for this group, and they win by 2 scores. I don't know if that's going to happen this week.
Yeah,
it's probably going to happen. Maybe in the playoffs, maybe, last couple of weeks of the season. I don't know if it's going to be this week. But when it happens, it's going to be big trouble for whoever they're playing.
Yeah, and I'm teasing a second ago with Coach Ramsey. Coach Sloan for Woodruff, both these guys are 2 of the better offensive coaches in the state. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch what they scheme up against each other there, because they do a great job finding mismatches and doing motions and moving guys around. It's going to be a fantastic X and O matchup as well. Jerel, thoughts from you or from the chat on this one? And while you're popping in, I will say, we've got an interview with Woodruff head coach Brett Sloan coming out probably Thursday night. Recorded that today with him. It was a lot of fun catching up with him here in year 2 at Woodruff and seeing what they've done. Last year went 4-7. Now they're sitting here at 5-0 with one of the best teams in 3A. It was great to talk to him. Definitely want to hope you guys will check that out. I think Thursday night when that pops off will be a lot of fun, and it was a great conversation, really. But Jerel, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, just kind of going back to that too. Check out that interview when it comes out. We also caught up with Coach Ramsey in the offseason too. So if you want to go back, you're not familiar with MVP and their program, you can always go back and look at that on any platform as well. But I'm going to pop up this comment by Nathan. I think it summarizes what we're thinking as well. I think MVP does have the better talent, but Woodruff probably has the better team at this point, especially, I think, and they have a better resume. So I got to agree with that. This is always scary when we do a clean sweep. We're all going to pick Woodruff to win this
big game
football
like
game.
this, right?
Exactly. Because it's tough, man. We've seen Woodruff play this year. We know that they're good. They've got high-level talent. It's just guys that a lot of people probably haven't heard about yet.
Yeah.
With Gibson, Moats, Morris, those guys like that, where MVP has the stars. You have where these guys, they transferred from different programs, but we've seen them compete at such a high level. I mean, we've seen Drummond, you've seen Hainsworth, you've seen McGill get it done. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, being a neutral site like John alluded to, I think it's going to, kind of wash that home field advantage there, even though it is homecoming, I think, for MVP. But it's going to be a whale of a ball game. Going to see some high-level football, some high-level talent, and some great coaching as well.
Yeah, great running back matchup with McGill and Gibson facing off. I think Gibson probably the number one back in that sophomore class, and then McGill number one back in the junior class, you would think for sure. But, Jerel, what is the chat saying about this big matchup? Brandon says he was surprised MVP struggled with Chapman, but they did pull away. They did. Yeah, I think into the second half they were, really struggling, but played a good fourth quarter there to pull away in that one. Zach said, down in the fourth, 9-6. He said he thinks they're overrated. Played them really good. The schedule does worry me, and part of that is nobody wants to play them, because of the whole charter school thing. So you can't, I guess really down them for that. But yeah, you're right. They have not played the toughest schedule at this point for sure. Brielle says wants to say Woodruff here's MVP as a team this year. Yeah, and I'm really interested to see them in person this week, Bradley, to really get a good feel for them. Because I've heard the same thing where they've got, they're loaded and they're explosive, but we just have not put eyes on them to really know for sure.
Talent's there for sure.
Heather's riding with the Stars. Heather, obviously I know you're a little biased there, but the Stars they're a great football team. I mean, that's why they're 6-0 right now. They're in our top 5 in our poll. We know they're good for sure. Zach says Aiden Gibson, the difference maker in the game, hard to tackle. Patrick, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you being in here as always. Brent says he's going with Woodruff as well. They're a good team. They are a good team. I think both these teams are. I mean, you don't get to this point undefeated without, having some pretty serious chops.
And another cool point going back to these coaches, deep ties to that Spartanburg County, there as well. So it's really cool to see these guys coming back to that area to coach these teams. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this game for sure.
Yeah, and I know we'll have some folks in here who are watching the program at the game Friday. Be sure to yell us. I think we're all going to try to be there. So probably, say hello to us. Love to chat with you and catch up with you at that MVP Woodruff game. Drew, anything else on this matchup?
Let's move on to the next one, guys.
Perfect. Our fourth CONA game of the week, John, the Highway 9 rivalry, Marlboro County, the Bulldogs, 7-0, traveling to the White Walls, taking on a Dillon team at 5-2. Man, this game has got the folks chatting on the internet. I've seen a lot of trash talk already. Always a heated matchup, but especially this year with Marlboro off to their hot start, it has gotten really intense and is going to be a great game on Friday. Last year, Dillon 44-0 victors in this matchup. I don't think we're going to see anything close to that this week, John.
No, this is going to be another one. Whoever makes one big play is going to probably be the one that comes out on top here, be it a special teams, defensive play, whatever it may be. This is going to be an awesome game. And this you could just watch this region all year and have a awesome time.
Yep.
I'm pretty surprised what kind of my watermark was going to be was how they fared against Ainer. Both of them blew Ainer out. I thought there was going to be two pretty close games. I'm really having a hard time what to do with this game. I think I saw Dillon play against Loris, and they played very well. They had chances to win that. Well, I say they played well. They made a lot of just really crucial mistakes. But they're a really good team, and they still almost won that game against a really good Loris team in an awesome road environment. Their other loss on the road against another very, very good team in Hartsville, another really good, tough environment to play in. They get to play within the White Walls. We know what kind of home field advantage that is. I think I would pick Dillon if I hadn't gone to that Loris game a couple weeks ago. Just some of the mistakes that they made in that game were so crucial. And I think Loris might be the better team, but Dillon had opportunities to win that game. They fumble a kickoff. They turn the ball over. They turned the ball over twice, I think both times in the second half. They had some bad penalties in the game as well. I know the Dillon staff probably thinks, hey, that's not all our fault. Maybe the stripes are a little tougher on them. And hey, that happens sometimes too. I want to say Marlboro County in this game, but I haven't seen them play. Marlboro County can making the same mistakes that Dillon has too. And I just haven't seen it yet. It's so hard to pick against Dillon at home. I think Marlboro County might win this game. I think they may win this game, but I think they are, again, two extremely evenly matched teams. I think we say who's going to make that big play. I think on the other end of this, it might be who makes the least amount of crucial errors in this game, because we know Dillon's done it a couple times this year. If they can just control that and control that damage, not get penalized so much, not turn the ball over as much, keep the big momentum plays for the other side to a minimum, I think that's who's going to win this game. Whoever can do that better than the other.
The Bulldogs last week defeated Georgetown 64-15. They're averaging 44 on offense, 13 on defense. Quarterback Nidarian Blackwell, 8 for 11, 268 last week. Running back Josiah Robinson, receiver Donovan Pauling Outlaw, 4 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown. Athlete Justin Purvis, 4 catches, 172, 3 touchdowns. Defensively, Josiah Dwyer, defensive lineman, committed to East Carolina. He is a force there for them. Ja'Carrion Keenan at DB, just decommitted from Rutgers this week. Already picked up an NC State offer as well. Not sure where he's going to go, but they have studs all over the field there for first-year coach Corey Johnson. On the Dillon side, the 49-7 win over Ainer, you mentioned there, John, averaging 29 on offense, allowing 30 a game on defense. Not typical for Dillon there for sure. Quarterback Ramon Hamilton, he has stepped in, first-year starter, and played well for them. Running back Shamarian Fling, Damo Felton can get it done there. I really like the receiver, Zay Robertson, a young kid. I think he's going to be a special player. He's a sophomore right now, I think, John. He's going to be really good for them. Defensively, Capehart and Campbell and Brown and Graves, they're always solid on that side of the ball. And my worry in this one, John, is just Marlboro County has literally just been hammering everybody, running it down your throat, throwing it all over you. A bunch of big guys on that team. And I think Dillon's not quite as big as usual, it feels like. Obviously, they're going to be physical. They're going to be tough. That is what Dillon is. I think just from a sheer size standpoint, I don't know if they have it up front on both sides like they did last year, with Benjamin and Thompson now who's starting in South Carolina. They don't quite have that same size up front, it feels like.
If Marlboro County if they can be successful throwing the football, and when I say successful on their end, if they can find the open guy and make that throw before the Dillon defensive line gets back there, this could be a big game for the Bulldogs. There were a lot of open Loris receivers a few weeks ago against Dillon. Not all of them got the football to them. You can't blame the quarterback in that, because you got Wildcats flying all around on that defensive line. But in Marlboro County, if they can throw the ball downfield a little bit, I think Dillon's going to have a hard time keeping up.
Going to be interesting to see. We mentioned it. In Dillon's 2 losses, John, special teams have been a big issue. In Hartsville, they had a kick block and gave up 2 kickoff return touchdowns. The Loris game, I think you said they fumbled once or twice there on kicks.
Fumbled a kickoff after a Loris scored, gave it right back to huge momentum killer.
You can't have that happen this week. Obviously, playing at home, I'm sure, helps for that. But Marlboro County, and the only worry for me with them is that they haven't played a high-level game like that this year. Like, their schedule has not been super difficult. Not their fault, because they've been beating the brakes off of everybody. But they have not played the toughest schedule yet. So are you leaning on Marlboro County? What are you thinking of this one?
Marlboro County here.
I like that. And we always talk about how tough it is to play at Dillon and to play in the White Walls. That's a very big, it's a real thing. Like, it is a difficult place to play. But with Marlboro County, all these kids are new. I don't know if they know that, and I don't know if they care. They are new to the state. They probably aren't super familiar with all the tradition there. They're just going to show up and play. I think Marlboro County wins this game. I think Coach Johnson and the boys get it done. I like Justin Purvis a ton to have a big game. I think he could be an X factor. But, man, this is going to be a great environment. Both crowds are going to show out and turn out. Always a physical and I don't want to say nasty, but a very intense rivalry probably going to be on a different level this year. Should be a great ball game over in Dillon on Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great environment. If you're at the game, get some chicken bog, settle in, get there early and enjoy it, because it's going to be a really fun 4-quarter ball game.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, in my head, I almost want to pick Marlboro County by like 2 scores, but I don't know if I can make myself do it. I think they're a legit football team, but we'll see. It'll be a fantastic ball game. Jerel, thoughts from you or from the chat on this one? I know people have been talking about it a ton on social media, man. Give us your 2 cents on this Bulldogs and Wildcats game.
What the heck? I've been known to put my foot in my mouth a time or two. Who cares? I think Marlboro County is going to try their best to run it up, and I think they're going to win it by multiple scores. I think they're going to win this game. This was going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the advantages you see are in Dillon's favor. They've got the mental edge. They're playing at home, but I think there is a talent gap this year, and I think Marlboro County is going to try their best to exploit it. I like what you said there. These guys don't really know a lot about it, so they're not going to care, and the ones that do, so they're going to relay that message. I think Marlboro County is going to try their best to make a good impression, because they have not played a difficult schedule yet. So I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch. Going to be keeping up with these updates throughout the week and on Friday night, but it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and just, I mean, I hope it's a safe environment as well. I know this one's gotten a little nasty in the past. I hope it stays under control in the stands. But I feel like, John, no matter what teams we see playing these weeks, there's always something going on now with the kids fighting or whatever. Let's keep that to a minimum, folks. So let's make sure we just have a good football game there in between the white walls. Jerel, what else we got from the chat on this matchup? Zach says potential for game of the year. Certainly could be. Curtis says be a close one, maybe 21-20.
Yeah, I can see that.
Marlboro County getting revenge, says Bradley. Curtis says, is Marlboro tested? Yeah, and that's a question for sure. They have not played they have a super difficult schedule. You look at the common opponent there, Scotland County. Both teams beat them by a similar score. Honestly, I think it was at that point. So
that was close. They're Marlboro's closest game, but they've been railroading everybody.
Nathan says could be the nastiest game of the year. Who composed himself the most? Certainly, that could be a big key there. No stupid penalties, no dumb flags, no dumb turnovers. Certainly could be the difference maker in this matchup. Mario says Wildcats don't make those mistakes at home. Be a tight game like Dillon, 28-21.
And if they don't, I could see that being the score for sure.
Yep. Chosen says Marlboro County in OT.
That would be great. Or great to see overtime.
Anthony says Marlboro County averaging 10.1 yards a carry. Offensive line, everybody over 6'4", 320. I mean, that's a college line size right there, John. That is impressive what they're doing there with Robinson in the backfield and also Blackwell and Purvis slipping in there some too. Chosen says Marlboro County show a lot of toughness. Those guys, I mean, they're legit, man. The Bulldogs for Coach Johnson, they're playing great football. We had a chance to talk to him for the season as well. If you missed that, go watch that interview. He had a lot of great stuff to talk about. I know, Jerel, you loved hearing about his unorthodox training stuff, the way they kind of get these guys in shape and whatnot with the strength. It was really cool to hear him talk about that as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, he's definitely bringing a new angle to it. They're trying to be, effective in the weight room and, working on speed, agility, flexibility, stuff like that. So, and it's obviously working. I mean, the way that these guys have been performing this year. So it's going to be interesting. Will it work this Friday night? We'll see around, 10, 11 o'clock.
No doubt about it. And our final CONA game of the week, the SCISA game of the week, John. Cathedral at 7-1, traveling to Holly Hill at 6-1. Both these teams' only losses have both been to Jefferson Davis. So they're playing really good football. Cathedral 52-8 last week, averaging 52 on offense, 18 on defense. Quarterback Johnny Gresham, running backs Ward and Welch, receiver Jacob Gammons, Josh Simmons. Defensively, Jeter and Holmes are leading them on that side of the ball. Holly Hill 66-0 over Kings last week, averaging 40 on offense, 15 on defense. Quarterback Ashton Souls, a multi-year starter there, gets it done on both sides of the football. Running back Parker Kaiser, Jody Gillum at receiver. Also Camden Harmon and Jason Eiler on the defensive side. John, Cathedral, kind of an upstart team this year. I don't believe they played SCISA 8-man last year. These teams didn't match up last season. Holly Hill, went all the way to the state title before falling to JDA. They're a really good program. The Raiders are one of the premier programs each year in 8-man football. I think they win again behind Ashton Souls. But can Cathedral step up and make a statement this week, you think?
I think they're going to make it a great game. I think it's going to be a close game. But if Holly Hill's not playing Jefferson Davis, it's hard for me to pick against them. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go with them again. They played – I mean, you look at what they did last week. That's as close to a perfect game as you can have.
Yeah.
They're obviously clicking. They're in. Yes, Zach.
Yep.
Yes.
8-man. Yep. Lots of points.
Yeah. I'm going Holly Hill, and I think they're at home as well.
They are.
I'm going Holly Hill on this one.
Yeah, cool stadium there they've got down there at the Holly Hill area. Jerel, thoughts from you or from the chat? Listen, I saw a couple comments pop in. I thought a second ago.
Yeah, I think John hit it on nail on the head there. With Holly Hill, like if they're not playing JDA, you got to pick them to win the game.
Yeah,
right? I think it's a good story for Cathedral. I think it's going to be a closer ball game, but you got to just go with Holly Hill. I mean, it is what it is.
Let's see. Landon says Holly Hill's quarterback. Yeah, Ashton Soul is a really good player for them. I think he's a 2-year, maybe 3-year starter now for that Raiders program. He says Holly Hill by 14. I think that sounds right. Maybe a little bit more, actually. We'll see. Yeah, 8-man is fun to watch. If you want to see some explosiveness, Landon, you're exactly right, man. Go check out an 8-man game. You'll see a lot of big-time plays.
I got to watch this.
6-man.
Now, wow. That's like 7-on-7 out there. I don't know what to do with the 6-man. I don't know how that works.
That'd be something.
I've not seen any of that, Zach. I'm going to have to check out one of those at some point.
That's all the comments we got on that one.
Yes. So perfect. Well, once again, our CONA games of the week, we had 5 great matchups. If you missed us talking about any of these games, you can go watch it when the show is over. It'll be back at the beginning. You can check that out. Put the timestamps in there. We had Bowling Springs at Spartanburg, Barnwell at Hampton County, Woodruff at Mountain View Prep, Marlboro County at Dillon, and then Cathedral at Holly Hill were our matchups for our CONA games of the week this week. Jerel, let's shout out some friends of the program before we start looking at the 5A slate and work our way down.
A single moment can ignite a passion. With every play, a spirit of teamwork is forged, and determination evolves into success. Life is the ultimate team sport, and a trusted teammate makes all the difference. Our team at Founders Federal Credit Union works hard every day to offer the financial tools you need, backed by unrivaled member service.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. Now, John, as we go into the rest of the schedule from the state, you guys will hear we've got some games on Thursday this week. We're starting some of the rescheduling, try to get some of these games in that got missed. So you'll hear some Thursdays. I think we got some Tuesdays next week. We'll talk about those next week. No Mondays, luckily for us. Don't worry about any Monday games, but let's go through some Thursday and Friday games here in the 5A slate.
Yeah, starting on Thursday in 5A, Carolina Forest will go to North Myrtle Beach.
All of a sudden, that's a big game. I believe both those teams are undefeated in region. North Myrtle Beach, 2-5, but they've won their last 2 in a row in region play. Carolina Forest looking better as well. That's a sneaky game that will matter a lot, I think, for seeding here in the playoffs.
For sure. Woodmont will be at Greenwood. JL Man goes to TL Hanna.
TL Hanna, they've lost a game in region already to Greenwood. They need to win this game against JL Man. JL Man looks great. Had a big win over Hillcrest on Saturday night. A bit of a quick turnaround Saturday to Thursday for them. Wonder if that worries Coach Watson. I think they'll be okay. I like JL Man. Too much firepower on offense, I think, and they win that matchup.
Yeah, I think the Patriots win big in this one. And Easley will be at Hillcrest, and Greenville will travel over to Malden for the Thursday night games.
Got to shout out the Mavericks, man. They ended a 15-game losing streak last week with the win over Easley, John. They were down 21-0 in that game. Came back and won. Awesome there for those kids. Awesome there for Coach Cook. Hopefully, they can keep it rolling and stack up a wins here late in the season.
Yeah, I think they got a chance. I think they got a chance against Greenville. Greenville not playing great football here, their first year in 5A right now. It could be a close game. Malden's got some obviously got the momentum on their end right now.
Yes, they do.
Jumping over to Friday, Clover will host Indian Land. Lugoff Elgin will be hosting Westwood. Rock Hill will be at Northwestern.
Always a fun rivalry. Rock Hill has played some pretty good football this year.
Yeah.
They've got some explosive players with Knupp and Ratley and Malik Clark, obviously on offense there. Northwestern, I think, are just a buzzsaw right now, man. They are really putting up big numbers with Finley Polk and Vance and Watkins and Zamir Gordon Miles and those guys on offense. They are blowing everybody out. Can Rock Hill keep it close? We'll see.
I don't know. Everybody be juiced up for this game, though. Should be a good crowd out there. Burns will travel to Eastside. Riverside will be hosting Gaffney. Dorman at home against Wade Hampton. Irma will travel to White Knoll.
White Knoll is a team that worries me. I think we were all kind of high on them going into the year, go based on what they did last year. They brought the quarterback back as well. They've struggled. That loss to River Bluff 2 weeks ago kind of worried me in that overtime loss there. Irmo, seeing them first person last week, they're really impressive. They're big and physical. They got playmakers everywhere. A.J. Brand, Amir White, Donovan Murph out wide. They are a tough team defensively, what they can do as well with Jaden Bryant up front. They just kind of beat you into submission, it feels like. And I think they win again this week. It was certainly a great trip. John, I think you've been there before, but to W.C. Hawkins Stadium. It was a really cool stadium.
Yeah.
Really cool stadium. Enjoyed that. Enjoyed talking to Coach Brand. Got to meet Jesse Bryant, a fan of the show. He's great to talk to as well. And if you missed it, we got interviews with Coach Brand, A.J. Brand, and Donovan Murph up on our social media page. I know A.J. Brand, the big VT commit, Donovan Murph, the 4-star receiver that everybody wants right now. Go check out those interviews as well on our social media pages.
Yeah, that would be Irmo. I wish this Irmo team this year could have played the White Knoll team from last year. That would have been a lot of fun. Sumter will be at home against Blythewood. We talked about one of our CONA games of the week, Boiling Springs traveling to Spartanburg. Wanda will be hosting Berkeley.
Interesting game here. Berkeley surprised me by losing that game last week. I've been really high on the Stags team this year. Losing that game and the way they lost it as well, super low scoring to Goose Creek, gives me some worry there. And Wando has looked solid in their first-year head coach, Isaiah Perry in there. He's got them playing pretty good football. Sneaky game there. I think Berkeley a little too much firepower. They should win this one. But if they play like they did last week, Wando's got a real chance.
Yeah, don't have two bad weeks in a row, or you might catch another L there. But I agree with you. I think they'll have it ready to go this week against Wando. See West Florence at home against Ridgeview. Stratford on the road against Cane Bay. Goose Creek, as you mentioned, they will be hosting Lucy Beckham. Chapin will travel to River Bluff. That'll be a really good region game there. Catawba Ridge at home against Nation Ford. Fort Dorchester hosting James Island. Ashley Ridge on the road against Somerville. Might be a good game here.
So Ashley Ridge, I believe, is 6-1, 5-1. 6-1. Somerville undefeated still. I don't think Ashley Ridge is as good as Somerville. You look back a couple weeks there, their one losses to Oceanside, 3-18, beat them pretty handily. Somerville has just really hammered everybody, it feels like, this year. I think the Green Wave and Coach Rafferty are legit, man. They're playing really good football. I think they win that game easily over the Swamp Foxes.
We'll have Lexington hosting Dutch Fork, and West Ashley will host RB Stall to close out 5A.
Yes, Jerel, any comments from you or from the chat on 5A? Nathan says, man, big TL Hannah not their normal self this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Trojans by 50 in that Northwestern game. Agree with you on that as well. Brandon says, Greg Porter got his first win at Lawrence last Friday against Southside, against his old school there. Nice win for Coach Porter and the Raiders. Jeffrey Somerville quarterback still out. Not sure, Jeffrey. I've not seen a confirmation on that. And if he is, that could be a big difference. But, they had the running back, Javen Williams, last week, stepped up, ran for, I think, for 250 plus, like 4 scores. They got it on the ground last week when they had to. We'll see who shows up, and that could be a key factor. But I think if Somerville is at full health, I like the Green Wave to win that one.
Yeah.
Stags beat Ashridge, had to give him a game back. Great point there. Great point, Slicks. Ashridge technically has 2 losses now. They had to, got that forfeit win back over Berkeley there. Good point. I forgot about that. So Ashridge maybe not quite as good as that record shows.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good call there, Slick. Appreciate you bringing that up. Shows says who wins Bowling Springs Spartanburg. We're kind of split on that one. We break that down in our CONA games of the week. I like Bowling Springs. I think John likes Spartanburg. Should be a fantastic matchup. I know John likes their defense a lot. I like the quarterback a little bit more at Bowling Springs. Will be a great game. We talked about it earlier in the show, Joe. You go back and check that out when we get done here.
That's it. Let's go to 4A, guys.
Looking down at the 4A slate now, John.
Yeah, we got a couple games on Thursday night here in 4A as well. May River will travel to Hilton Head.
May River, man, they keep winning. I think they're undefeated. Still had a big win over Bishop England last week, a team that we think is fairly good. Coach Barnwell and the boys are playing great football. A 3-headed monster running the ball. I think they ran for 300 plus last week against Bishop England, a team that had played really good defense up until that point. They're playing good football there.
We'll see another good team here. North Augusta will travel to Airport, and South Aiken will host Gray.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of these CSRA and then the upstate teams are ones that's having to play this kind of weird schedule to make up for the games missed a few weeks back.
Now, as we go into Friday, Greer will be hosting Seneca.
I want to shout out Seneca. I feel like we have not mentioned them enough on the show, John and Jerel. They're 6-0. They're playing good football there for Coach Crane. How good are they? I don't know for sure. Have not seen them play a super tough game yet. I think this Greer game will be a good measuring stick to see, are they legit or not. But Seneca, man, shout out those guys. You don't get to 6-0 this season at this point in the season without being a pretty solid football team.
It helps that the Daniel game has not been played yet. We'll see if they get to make up that game or not here last few weeks of the season. South Point, they'll host Lancaster. Darlington is on the road against Hartsville.
A fun rivalry there. An inter-county rivalry there can get a little bit nasty as well between those two teams.
And Darlington is a little bit better. I don't know that this game's going to be super close, but Darlington has much improved this year. York will travel to Camden. Beaufort at home against Bishop England. South Florence will host Wilson. Brooklyn Casey is at home against Gilbert. Pickens hosting Daniel. Aiken will travel to Midland Valley. Lakewood on the road against Lower Richland. Berea will be hosting Walhalla. Wren hosting Lawrence. Dreer on the road against a red-hot AC Flora squad. Westside at home against Fountain Inn. Travelers Rest will go to Blue Ridge. Colleton County is on the road against Bluffton. And Southside will be hosting Emerald.
Yeah, some good matchups here. I do want to bring up Travelers Rest. I think Jerel, did you lose a bet last week against Travelers Rest? I can't remember.
I sure did. I owe Nathan lunch. He gave me 50 points, and they won that game by 54. I thought we would get a garbage touchdown in there somewhere. Apparently, we couldn't. I know he's thinking that we should just have like a Northern Greenville County All-Star team to play against Daniel. I'm in favor of that going forward. But yeah, Nathan, we'll definitely have to work something out. I owe you lunch. That was cool. We were on the sidelines. Me and Kevin we're down at Irmo keeping up with that one. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, we'll definitely get that set up soon here, Nathan. Drell, any comments from the chat on the 4A slate before we look down to 3A?
Let me see. Don't see any 4A comments. Is Orangeburg Wilkinson playing this week? I didn't hear them on the schedule.
They're 3A. They're 3A.
Or 3A. There we go.
Minute and see. I can't remember if they play or not.
Just put that in your mind to talk about them when we get there.
OW, the Bruins. Okay, we'll get to it. All right. Well, let's look down at 3A now, John. Starting the 3A slate. Any Thursday games in that class?
So we only have one game here in the upstate in 3A. That'll be St. Joseph's going to Southside Christian. A little rivalry game there for those guys.
Yep.
That will be the marquee matchup, one for 3A on Thursday. And then on Friday, we got a smaller schedule here as well. Oceanside, they'll travel to Battery Creek. Christ Church is at home against Carolina. Crescent on the road against Belton Honeypath. Pendleton on the road against West Oak. Chapman will travel to Union.
Big win over Broome last week. That kind of caught me off guard. An overtime win over Coach Isom's bunch. I think they threw maybe I saw the stat. I think they threw 2 passes throughout the game. They just really ran all over Broome, which I did not see coming there. Union may have found something. It may be on the way up. I'm not saying how high they're going to go. They may be playing better football right now.
And Broome's got some talent. That's a very impressive win for Union. Berea will be hosting Walhalla. Swansea on the road against winless Silver Bluff, which is crazy to say.
That's hard to believe there at
wild.
This point. And Swansea on the other side has played really good football. I think they got one loss, a 14-7 loss to Barnwell earlier in the year. They're playing great for first-year coach Willie Fox there, the Tigers are.
I like Swansea a lot. Walcomalt, they'll go to Anner. Orangeburg Wilkinson, they're on the road against North Charleston on Friday night.
They had a great win over Hanahan last week for Odo. I did not see that coming. I thought Hanahan was going to handle them pretty easily. But the Bruins have been kind of a hard team to figure out. 2 weeks ago, they scheduled a late game against HKT for homecoming due to a cancellation, and they get beat. Yeah. And then they play Hanahan, a pretty good team, and they beat Hanahan. So I don't know. I know North Charleston has a solid record this year. I don't think they're super good. I think OW wins again on Friday night.
Yeah, I think they do too. I think the Bruins actually might be pretty decent. It's just depends on which team shows up, right? We talked about this game. Everybody's talking about this game, one of our CONA games of the week. Marlboro County going inside the white walls against Dillon this Friday night. That will be a great game there. Fox Creek will go to Keenan. Loris hosting Georgetown.
And the Lions, I'm sure, will have an eye on that Marlboro County Dillon game as well while theirs is going on too. You know, they play the Bulldogs next week, so they're going to definitely want to see. Interesting to see how that one shakes out against the Wildcats.
Yeah. Woodruff, another one of our kind of games of the week here. Woodruff playing Mountain View Prep. That game will be at Newberry College on Friday night. And Palmetto will travel to Powdersville.
That's a sneaky good game, too. You know, Powdersville playing good football now. Started off, I think, 0-3, and I believe are on a 3-game winning streak now, including a nice win over Christ Church last week, playing good football. They're running the ball well. The new quarterback's kind of getting settled in. They got, you know, Elijah Huggins running the ball. He's a dynamic playmaker as well with Knuckles for them. Palmetto, Coach Norton has gotten them playing good football, too.
Yeah,
I believe they beat
improved.
either St. Joe's or Southside Christian last week with a nice victory there for the Mustangs. I don't know if they have enough for Powdersville. I don't know, but the winner of this game, I believe, moves to 2-0 in the region, will be in the driver's seat for that 1 seed there.
Yeah, and that would be that'd be a big time win there. So St. Joseph's is the other team in that region without a loss thus far. I say without a loss. All 3 schools are currently 1-0. So, we only got a couple of weeks really in the regular season. Depending on how many games some of these upstate teams play, that region will be very, very tight. And this is certainly a big one. Could take you from 1 to 3 in the region.
Very quickly. Jerel, any comments from the chat on the 3A slate? Big Bears by 50, says Courtney. Yeah, I mean, BHP is playing great football, man. That they will beat a lot of teams by 50. And I think they have another chance this week against Crescent for sure. Jeffrey says James Island and Fort will be a close game. I think 2 good defenses there, Jeffrey. I agree with you. I don't know whose offense is a little better. So I don't know where to lean that. It should be a good ball game. Annika says, go Camden. The Bulldogs, we know that they will get it figured out going to the region play. They always kind of start to peak here at this time of the season. So I'm sure they'll get it turned around. Raquez says, Westside Cakewalk through the region 2 explosive all over. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they are certainly a favorite in that region. They just have weapons everywhere. Brandon says, Powdersville's in the driver's seat to win region 2. I think so as well, especially if they win this week, they will be, Brandon. Great point.
And yes, Nathan, we will be eating real food. So yes, we'll get that worked out.
Love it. We will get that squared away for sure. Anything else on the 3A slate, Jerel?
No, sir.
Perfect. Well, let's shout out some friends of the program before we look down at the 2A action.
At HTC, we're here to keep you connected. Here to provide reliable fiber optic internet with free, fast, and secure HTC Smart Wi-Fi. HTC, here to connect.
With 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville, Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, CONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. Go to kona.care to learn more.
Looking for top-notch sports gear and uniforms? Look no further than First Team Sports. With 30 years of serving the Carolinas, First Team Sports is your local full-service dealer. From youth teams to colleges, we've got you covered with team uniforms, staff apparel, Letterman jackets, sports equipment, and facility branding. Visit our local store in Greenville or firstteamsc.com. Make First Team your first choice. Let's take a look down now at the 2A slate, John. Do we have any Thursday action in that one?
All Friday here in 2A. We'll start with Whale Branch. We'll be hosting Lake Marion. One of our CONA games of the week here in 2A, Barnwell going to Hampton County. Really excited about that ball game. Fairfield Central will be hosting Eau Claire.
Red hot Griffin squad there.
They certainly are. Phillips Simmons hosting Academic Magnet. Blacksburg will be at, I've never heard of the school, Bonnie Cone. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Blacksburg plays a lot of teams out of state, it feels like. Yeah. So certainly could a North Carolina team or something like that.
Andrew Jackson will be on the road against Central of Pageland.
A big region matchup now. Central took a loss last week to Sherall. And then Andrew Jackson beat Chesterfield, a team that we thought was playing pretty good football there. This will be key for seeding here in that region.
We'll see Saluda going on the road against 96. Very high on the Saluda team.
Still undefeated. Yeah.
Clinton, they'll be on the road against Lantern. We talked about this game a little bit earlier. Lantern, great place to go see a football game. They got a great stadium up there. I do think Clinton rolls in this one, but could be a good game.
Yeah, I think the Red Devils too much firepower, man, with Cook and Richardson and those guys. I mean, they're too explosive on offense, I feel like, right now. Let's see. Zach says, I like to throw it. Quarterback's close to 1,000 yards in the air already. Yeah, certainly slinging it around. That's only through 6 games there, too, so definitely getting after it. I'm sure Coach Campbell will have a a good plan built up there for the secondary to come up with some big stops. And I think Clinton wins in that one pretty handily, honestly.
Yeah. Liberty will be on the road against Chesney. Burke on the road against Woodland. Pelion will be hosting Strom Thurman. Buford at home against Chesterfield. Sherrall on the road against the North Central squad. Columbia at Chester. Manning will be hosting Atlantic Collegiate. Mullins at home against East Clarendon. Lake City will be hosting Marion. And Batesburg-Leesville hosting American Leadership.
That East Clarendon Mullins game is sneaky good there. I think, Mullins, we've mentioned, lost 2 games in a row now to Lake City and now Manning. Not sure if how good they are, but East Clarendon's played good football this year. They're a team that has been sneaky good, I think, in 2A. We haven't talked enough about. I think East Clarendon wins that football game, but could be a good ball game down there in 2A. Any other comments, Jerel, on 2A before we look down at the next portion of the program?
We do have our HTC game of the week.
That's right. Let's do that first.
2A as well. That will be Andrews hosting Timberland.
Yes.
In a matchup of 2 5-2 teams. Pretty good matchup here.
Yes, our HTC Hometown Connection game. Timberland, and you mentioned both 5-2. Last week they defeated Academic Magnet 47-14, averaging 34 on offense, 13 on defense. Quarterback Malik Goodman, receiver Jordan Timmons, and offensive lineman Desmond Green getting all kinds of offers from Power 5 schools, but he's just a junior there for the Wolves. Andrews, a 19-6 loss to Woodland. That kind of surprised me a little bit there, averaging 31 on offense, 17 on defense. Brandon Cumbie, the quarterback, not sure of his status. I believe he did not play last week, and if he's out, that's a big, big difference there for the Yellow Jackets. Running back A.J. Lee. Stafford's also an option running the ball there. Defensively, Chris Stewart and Dontavius Dollar to get it done on that side. But Andrews had a lot of turnovers last week, John, and I know part of that is probably the Cumbie situation, but that's not how you win games like this against teams that are, similar in stature like a Timberland to you.
No, you're not going to win many games. You keep turning the ball over. I forget what the stat was they were talking about on the radio. I think in the college game, when your turnover margin is more than 2, it's almost impossible to win the game. So yeah, you got to protect the football at all costs there.
And I think Andrews at home is a big advantage for them. And I like the Lee kid a ton. Running the ball. He's a really good player. I'm hoping Cumbie is back at full strength. If he's not, we could be talking about a totally different conversation. But I'm going to lean Andrews. I think I trust Coach Durham a little bit more in this matchup. But should be a fun game for our HTC Hometown Connection game. John, who do you like? Jerel, who do you like in this one as well?
I like Andrews as well, and they're going to be at home. I think teams like Andrews, they don't typically have multiple bad games in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I got to go Timberland. I just don't know, with Andrews, you got to have Cumbie. I mean, he's the guy that makes this thing go. They were stifled running the ball last week, and that's what they like to do. That's how they make their money, and just could not get anything going. So if he's out, which is a huge question mark, we got to give the advantage, I think, to Timberland, even though it's a home game for Andrews. But
it's fair.
It'll be interesting, but it really is all dependent on the health. If Brandon Cumbie's healthy, I like Andrews in the ball game. But if he's not playing, then I think you got to go Timberland here.
Yeah. Once again, Timberland at Andrews for our HTC Hometown Connection game of the week. HTC, this is Live Connect with. Each week we'll have a game from either Georgetown, Marion, or Horry County is one of our HTC ball games. Go out and support them, guys. If you live in those areas, certainly support HTC. But Jerel, any other comments from the chat on 2A or on the HTC game before we move on? Brandon Kuhn says Fairfield Central's only lost to Ridgeview. Also won a close game against Newberry. Yeah, they beat Louisville too. Another good team. They're playing really good football there.
A good squad. Good 5A squad.
Yep. The Griffins are playing great for Coach Davis there.
Nathan just got all the jokes this week.
Says, heads up, Daniel Berea next Tuesday. Whoa. In case that's going to be a CONA game of the week. You know what, Nathan? If it wasn't on Tuesday, I have to think tough about it, But, with the show being the same time, I'll not be able to make that happen. But.
We'll have to do a live remote on screen.
I love it.
Let's go to 1A, guys.
Looking down to the 1A slate now, John.
Johnsonville at home against Green Sea Floyds. Calhoun County will be on the road against Blackville Hilda. Branchville hosting Military Magnet. Latta on the road against Lakeview.
Fun rivalry there. Last year, Latta got the better of them. Coach, had some words for us on the pregame, the postgame interview there after what we said on the show, which I appreciate that. But I think this year, Latta is taking a step back from last year's team. There's not as much talent. They lost Jamarian Jones, some other guys there for them. Lakeview looks really good, playing really good football. Their one loss was to a Mullins team, but it was a weird game. They got spinning at half and came back a couple days later and played. Super odd situation there, but they've got some nice wins. The Wild Gators are playing great for Coach King right now. Love Foxworth, love Herlong there getting it done. I think Lakeview wins, and I think they're probably by a few scores in this rivalry matchup.
Yeah, I really like Lakeview in this one. This is another game where, hey, if you could take this year's Lakeview team against Lattice team last year, you'd have a really good ball game there. But yeah, Ladd just lost a lot of really good talent from last year. I like Lakeview in this one as well. We'll see Hunter Kenner Tyler on the road against Williston Elko. Really like this HKT team. They're playing good football.
Yes, they are. Wilson Elko, has had a solid year for them as well. But HKT, I think, just too much firepower, too big, too physical. I think they win this matchup. The Trojans do.
Yeah. Lee Central on the road against Lamar. McCormick, they'll be at home against Calhoun Falls. Ridgeland at home against Bamberg Earhart.
Ridgeland team, I feel like I do not know anything about. And I think they've got a fairly good record. I just don't know a whole lot about them. First year split back apart from Hardyville. How good are they? I don't know. I know how good Bamberg Earhart is. Chanston Crosby, Marcus Cann, those guys. I think the Red Raiders get that victory.
I do too. C.A. Johnson hosting Great Falls. Louisville on the road against McBee. Dixie will be at home against Ware Shoals. A really good Dixie team, but they took their first loss against Whitmire last week. See if they can bounce back. Hemingway is on the road against Carver's Bay. Denmark Olar at home against Allendale Fairfax. Baptist Hill will travel to St. John's. Scotch Branch at home against Bethune-Bowman. Wagner Sally will travel to Rich Spring Minetta. And Abbeville hosting that Whitmire team that just came off that big win against Dixie.
Yeah, Abbeville is a team that we know is very good, and it's tough now we get into region play. We're just not going to play anybody at their level, honestly, in the region. Like they're not. So it's just almost just stay healthy and let's get to the playoffs, and then we'll just see what happens starting maybe the third round. Maybe third, fourth round.
And I feel bad for these teams like Whitmire. Whitmire, they just came off a really good win, and what's your reward? Well, now you got to travel to Hike Field and play Abbeville.
Got to play the Kansas City Chiefs of 1A football.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Any comments from 1A in the chat?
Let's take a look at SCISA.
Perfect. Our SCISA slate. So we've got Thomas Hayward at John Paul, Dillon Christian at Christian Academy. A big one here, John. We actually had as a CONA game of the week a couple weeks back. Then it got moved due to the rain, and that's Hammond traveling to Northwood. Hammond continues to roll with Turner and Johnson and Croft and Tyler and those guys for Coach Wheeler. Northwood had an interesting loss last week to Portergall. Just could not get the offense going, so second half especially. I think Hammond still probably a class above everybody else in SCISA 4A and SCISA as a whole. I think the Skyhawks win that matchup. Wardlaw goes to King. Lawrence Manning at Ben Lippin. LMA, a big win over Cardinal Newman with the new coach. Can they keep it going this week? Be a fun storyline to follow there. Spartanburg Christian at Thomas Sumter. Newberry at Lawrence. Cardinal Newman at Augusta Christian. Hilton Head Prep at St. John's. Kings Academy at Conway Christian. Trinity at Northside. And then Colin Prep at Lee Academy. Two very evenly matched teams there. Colin Prep, quarterback Cale Owens, quarterback Tanner Wolf. And then Wolf and Varner on defense as well, getting it done for them. I think Colin Prep is a good team in 1A. They've got a chance to make some noise this season there. Jerel, any comments from the chat? 1A SCISA before we look at our next portion of the program. JD says Abbeville measuring 12 points of region play.
Yeah.
Great point there, JD. It's what do you do? I don't know. I mean, like I said, John said, you feel bad for the other teams. We know Abbeville is that good. Also, Jerel, who has the best hot dogs this year? I tell you what, we've had some good ones so far, man.
Yeah, give me a second. Let me run through, the reel. I got to think about this year. They start all, clumping together. I'll get an answer to you in the next 10 minutes or so.
Okay, I'll tell you one of mine. Just we just had it. South Point was a very good hot dog. South Point is really good. We've had some good ones for sure. But Jerel, let's shout out some friends of the program before we look down at our pick'em and our polls section as well.
Preferred Home Services. How can we make you smile today? Preferred Home Services. For electrical or plumbing, cooling too. Go, 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 Preferred.
Need a new ride to get you to the big game? Founders Federal Credit Union has auto loan rates that'll get you in the driver's seat without breaking the bank. And here's the best part. No payment for up to 90 days. Drive to victory with a loan that suits your budget. Visit foundersfcu.com/auto today and score your dream car with an auto loan from Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Member qualification required.
Each week we do our Pick'em contest brought to you by Hannah Engineering. We do 11 games across the state. Still have time to enter it. We do a weekly contest as well as a season-long contest. We do a playoff one as well when we start here in a minute. But, Jerel, let's look at our Week 7 leaders. We had 3 perfect scores. Dakota USC, JMO, and Richard E. all with an 11 spot. A lot of 10s. Billy, Chris, DJ, Gary, Reese as well. Lots of 9s with Ryan, Tyler, Jay Dawson, Jaron, JDP, Dale, Ethan, Kyle, Dion, Chechuan, Avery, Brad, Mike, Haley, and Corey. Lots of really high scores. John, you and Joe both with 9s. I had an 8 last week. I don't know if maybe we did a bad job picking games. Just made them too easy. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I got 9 last week. I thought last week
definitely too easy if I got a 9 this year. So yeah.
Well, congrats to those 3 leaders. Now our overall leader, Charlie L, hanging into a tough one here. He's got 51. Ben B at 50. Ryan with 49. Jamie with 48. Jaron with 48. Jeff, Isaiah, Jeffrey, and Slick all 48. Gary, Richard, Big Pop, Big O, Jay, and Kane all at 47. John at 52. I'm at 46. Jerel at 45. And at this point, we have dropped the lowest week. We will continue to do that as the season goes along. So definitely join us for that. It's a lot of fun. Appreciate our friends at Hannah Engineering for sponsoring that contest. Like I said, we'll do a prize at the end of the season. Also do a playoff pick 'em as well. It's a lot of fun. And it just gives you a reason to watch teams outside of your area. It gives you a reason to check out the rest of the state and stay up to date on everything going on in high school football. But a lot of fun each week to do that. And our polls, guys, we've given the other polls a hard time for a long time. We started doing our own now. We do a top 5 each week. Jerel, let's start with 5A and look at that top 5 poll, what we've got here. In Division 1, we got Dutch Fork at first, Somerville second. Sumter moves back to third this week. Sumter was third last week. They stay at third. JL Man at fourth. Bowling Springs at fifth. Also streaming votes is Spartanburg. We'll get a Spartanburg Bowling Springs matchup here this week. We'll learn a lot about both of those programs. Division 2, Northwestern in first. Gaffney second. Irmo third. Greenwood fourth. Hillcrest fifth. Riverside also getting a vote in Division 2. I'll say it, guys. Division 2, I had a really hard time with that 4 and 5 spot. I did not know where to go because it feels like everybody who's you could put there either has a weird loss or just something like, Greenwood, even Greenwood who's there, has a loss to Dorman. Riverside lost to Dorman. Hillcrest lost to Man last week. TL Hannah's got a couple losses. Berkeley's got a few losses now. Didn't really know where to go with that 4 and 5 spot, it felt like.
And I had a hard time with the Division 2 1 spot.
Yes.
Gaffney having trouble with Burns, that game going to overtime. And Northwestern just continues to be a machine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to move a team back after they win a game. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about getting W's. But, I personally, I had to do it. Well, I guess we all did it. We all did it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
But, that was tough as well.
Yeah, and in Division 1, I feel like, Dutch Fork just kind of has a stranglehold on that right now. No matter how good Sumter or Somerville or whoever plays, I think it's gonna be tough to match the Dutch Fork team right now. I think they're probably got a pretty good hold on that 1 spot unless just crazy happens here the rest of the season. Looking down now at 4A and 3A, Jerel, we've got Westside in first. South Point has made that move to number 2. Daniel 3. Tie for 4th, May River and South Florence. Also stream votes is North Augusta in 4A. 4A has been a sneaky one too, because this is a poll here, John, where kind of different from that 5A Division 2, where I feel like I could have 7, 8 teams I'd feel comfortable ranking kind of in that 4 and 5 spot. We could have gone a little bit deeper on this one.
Yeah.
Would have been a lot of fun. But I think Westside is still the class of that clash right now until something changes. I know South Point and Daniel look really good, but Westside is playing great football there in 4A. In 3A, BHP, number 1, all 3 first place votes. Second place, Marlboro County. Third, Loris. 4th, Woodruff. And 5th, MVP. Also streaming votes, Oceanside Collegiate. We'll see Woodruff from MVP, a top 5 matchup this week. And I'll tell you guys right now, depending on how that Marlboro County Dillon game goes, the Bulldogs may get a first place vote if they do what some folks think they might do on Friday night next week. We'll see how that shakes out, though.
Yeah, and nothing against Belton Honeypath. They just haven't been able to play a game like that. I thought that Broome game to kick off the season might be a little bit closer than what it was. But, Broome, an okay team, but they're certainly not to the level of that region with that PD region of Marlboro County, Loris, and Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just feels like BHP is a placeholder right now. You know, we're honestly giving them a little credit for having to play one side, but when you start looking at these resumes as we're going through, they're not going to have the resume that these other teams. They're not going to beat, have the strength of schedule and have beaten, opponents who are in the top 5, top 10. So I would not be shocked if as a casualty of war, the Bears kind of slide down in our poll in the weeks coming up.
And the lower state is so good in 3 as well. And again, that's no fault against, Belton Honeypath. That's just the way it shakes out this year.
Looking at our 2A and 1A polls in 2A, Vicksburg, Leesville, all 3 first place votes there. A tie for second, Barnwell and Clinton. 4th, Fairfield Central, and a tie for 5th, Hampton County and Saluda. We'll see another top 5 matchup there, John, Barnwell and Hampton County this Friday night. Going to be a lot of fun checking out that matchup. It's awesome how all these teams are up tied. We don't have any receiving votes. They're all kind of in that tied spot there in 2A. But a lot of football to be played there. Another team, Strong Thurman, could have made a case to be in there as well. Didn't quite get the votes this week, but 2A is a lot of fun. And it's going to be a great class as we see a lot of these teams match up here over the next few weeks. And back to the 1A poll, Jerel, we've got number 1, Abbeville still, of course. Number 2, Blackfield Hilda. 3, Bamberg-Earhart. 4, Louisville. And 5, Lakeview. I believe this is the same, list we had last year. Last week. I think Dixie may have been in there as well, but very similar 1 through 4, at least still in 1A.
Yeah. I had Dixie as 5 in my spot last week, but with that loss to Whitmire, I had to replace him there.
2A is fun. Like most of our polls, we're pretty similar, 1 or 2 off here or there. 2A, we're all completely different outside of that top spot right now. Batesburg Leesville's kind of cemented that top spot. But once you get 2 through 5, when we submit these every week, it's all over the place. It's hilarious.
And I don't look at any of those teams and go, gosh, they shouldn't belong in the top 5. I mean, they're all very, very worthy opponents. And I think they're all pretty evenly matched up. If they come across each other, and some of them certainly will in the playoffs, it's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. Any comments from the chat, Jerel, on the polls or anything in general? Courtney says Big Bears number 1. Yep, they've been there all year long, and they will stay there. Brandon says very good region, too. Batesburg, Leesville, Saluda, Strom Thurman. Yes, all
Very
3 of those
region.
will work themselves out for sure there with those 3 teams getting after it here in the next few weeks. I know that Batesburg, Strom Thurman game is actually going to be that week of 11-8, that new week they added on to be to end the season. Curtis says, like these polls better than others. Appreciate you, Curtis. Thank you for that, man. We try to do a better job and give it a more well-rounded view and not focus on just, one section of the state and things like that. So appreciate you for that, Curtis. Anything else, Jerel, on our polls or anything in general, I guess, as well?
No, that's it. I guess I can pop back in. I was trying to look at the map to remember the games that we've been to this year. Dude, I don't think that we've had a bad hot dog. I mean, Louisville's
yes, you have. I saw you throw one in the trash, Jerel.
We did. There was one bad one.
I saw Jerel throw
one
in the trash.
We'll just say it was in Spartanburg County. Forgot about that one because it was that bad. So, yeah, it was in Spartanburg County. Not good. The other 7 or 8 that I've had this year, fantastic. That one, we need to go back to the drawing board.
Hey, and be on the lookout this Friday for our Irmo food review coming out. Those were a very good hot dog there at Irmo as well. Certainly enjoyed that one. Do want to shout out our teams of the week. Malden, the big win, ending that losing streak, the big win over Easley last week. We had Whitmire defeating Dixie, a previously unbeaten Dixie team there, John. And May River, a huge win over Bishop England, brought to you by Preferred Home Services, our friends over there. Once again, May River, Malden, and Whitmire, our 3 teams of the week. Our players of the week from the Georgia agency, we had Reese Price at Wren, Carmelo Jones at Cross, and Landon Robinson at Walhalla. Guys, go look at what Carmelo Jones has done the last few weeks. I think he put up 7 touchdowns this week. I think he had 6 last week and maybe 5 or 6 the week before that. Unreal stats for Cross these last few weeks. Done a great job there for Coach Wright's program. Once again, send us those stats each week. We love shouting out these kids. Definitely get those over to us. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll have our big interview with Coach Brett Sloan dropping on Thursday night. The head coach of the Woodruff Wolverines, a massive matchup against MVP on Friday. Definitely check that out. Get his thoughts on that one. He kind of lays out his thoughts on their program and how they've gotten to where they are and just what he likes about this team, what's going to take to get a big win. So definitely check that out on Friday and on Thursday, and then check out the game as well on Friday. As always, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you more at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS, MovinChains.com, our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Our weekly preview show here on Tuesday night, 7:15, live on Facebook and YouTube. our recap show on Sundays, our Friday night spaces on Fridays, giving a scoreboard show pretty much, our coach interviews, players of the week, teams of the week, food reviews, lots of good stuff all throughout the week as well. Our Moving the Chains merch, we got some great hats. We've got all these stuff, pictures of these on our social media pages. Check them out. We got great Richardson hats here. We've got great toboggans, a black one, a gray one for those colder games here. We've got some great T-shirts right now, a black, a gray, a navy blue, and a pink as well for the ladies. Order your stuff, mtcgear.sc@gmail.com, or just message us on Facebook. We have the hoodies still from last year, a few of those left, a gray version and a white or lighter gray, whatever you're going to call it as well. Get you a great hoodie. Stuff is really high quality, John. It feels good to wear.
Really comfortable.
Looks good, feels good. Support the boys. Get your Moving the Chains merch today. Jerel and John, any final thoughts from you guys on this week 8, which is, honestly, maybe the best slate of games we've had so far this season?
Yeah, I'm just really excited about, really pumped about the Marlboro County Dillon game. That's going to be awesome. Mountain View, Woodruff is going to be awesome as well. And I got nothing against 5A, but I love seeing some of these smaller schools in these big time games. You really see some awesome atmospheres.
Hard-hitting question here from Courtney. We know he's a big BHP supporter. I'll go ahead and start off with this question. I have no idea. 3A it's crazy competitive this year. 3A, it typically is competitive. I thought that it was going to be gutted a little bit going into the season. I thought it was going to be very top-heavy, and boy, was I wrong about that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun keeping up with the 3A playoffs. I think we got some real contenders on both sides of the state.
I'm going to put my money – put my money where my mouth is, if I'm saying that right. I think whoever wins Region 5 is my favorite to win the state championship, be it Marlboro County, Loris, or Dillon. Whoever wins that region, I think is going to be the favorite for me to win 3A.
You know what's crazy? Thinking about to our poll we had, I think we had a top 5 and then also another team receiving votes. I think all 6 of those teams could win the state title right now. And there's probably a couple more. I know we did the cool exercise last year. We'll do it again this year as we go into the playoff shows about how many teams from each class can win state. I think 3A may have the most, honestly, that could win it right now. Yeah. There's a lot of really good football teams in 3A. Will be a fun class to follow. Jerel, any other comments from the chat before we wrap up here?
Oh, they're ragging on me about the hot dog. I completely forgot about that terrible one. I've been crying, laughing back here for the past 5 minutes because you called me out. I'm trying to be nicer to these concession stand
workers. We didn't say where,
but it was hilarious because yes,
what's funny is you say it was you quite awful. Nicer. I feel like I got to be more strict in my grade. I feel like every hot dog I grade is like a 7+ or an 8+. I got to.
They've been great this year, though. They've been fantastic. We have not. Right. Normally, we run into some bad stuff. I mean, we've been to Clinton, Louisville, South Point. I mean, we've had some really good hot. Irmo got chicken bog at Irmo. I got a bologna sandwich at Strong.
Ren might be the best one. Ren was super good. That might be the best one.
Fantastic. So yeah, we've had a lot of good hot dogs. You can deduce based on the map of which one we're leaving off. So if you want to do some investigative work, you can find it out there. But a lot of good stuff this year so far. So it's going to be fun. Excited about this week of games. So we got some primetime matchups. It's kind of the schedule's been kind of messed up, but this week is going to be a lot of fun to keep up with.
Certainly. And if you guys see us at a game, certainly come and say hello, man. We love talking football and talking ball with you guys. Now I mentioned Jesse Bryant pregame last. We got to take a picture with him. That was really fun getting to talk with him to get his thoughts on the team. And I know Jerel, you talked to Coach Donovan Merstad as well for the game. Love talking to those folks and getting to hear their thoughts because we don't get to see a lot of these schools you guys do. So certainly give us your thoughts. Love to have your input. And, if you're at a game, feel free to message us as well. If you want to just send us updates, we'd love to get that from you too. So definitely don't be shy and certainly interact with us as much as you can. Love to hear from you guys. But any other final thoughts from you guys before we wrap up here?
My only addition I'm going to mention on Sunday, I got the pleasure of basically doing a 2A Region 4 tour. I went really close by where North Central High School was. I got to pass right by Beaufort High School and Andrew Jackson. So pretty cool just seeing how close all those schools are together. Pageland right up the road as well. Jerel not far away. But that was kind of cool seeing those little, smaller schools you don't see all the time. I'll tell you what, Andrew Jackson, I haven't been there since they built the new school. Man, that is a really, really good-looking school, really good-looking campus they've got over there in Kershaw.
Where y'all going to be this week, guys?
Tough call. I mean, leaning probably Woodruff, Mountain View Prep. Not 100% sure yet, but leaning that direction. But we'll see. Have not made the final call yet.
Curtis, we would be between the white walls if Clemson didn't decide to kick off at noon this week. So I'll say that.
that does make it tough. Does make it tough for sure. Once again, guys, Brett Sloan interview Woodruff head coach on Thursday. Friday night Spaces join us on X for that about 10:30 on Friday. Love to talk to you guys and get through those scores. But for Jerel Hendricks and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. Moving the Chains is always brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. This has been our Week 8 South Carolina High School football preview show. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin The Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night Spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit Movin